I wanted to talk to you guys about some tips and tricks for PT school, some things to just keep in mind when you are in PT school, applying for PT school, or just anywhere along that process. So the very first thing is to choose your program wisely. The reason that you really want to look at your program, you want to see the length of the program, if it's an accelerated program. Majority of the DPT programs are going to be around the 3-year mark. There may be some that are around 2.5 years, and that would be considered an accelerated program. You really want to just figure out what kind of a student are you and how are you going to learn best. If this is something that you want to complete as quickly as possible, then maybe an accelerated program would be the best choice for you. However, at the same time, always keeping in mind that the faster it is, the more complicated it may feel. Personally, my program consists of a shorter program length just because we began in September, and we also have a lot of clinicals. And what that does is that it delays the start time, and that already then makes a program that is shorter. And then having as many clinicals as my program does, that also means less time for didactic coursework, which is, attending lectures and classes on the daily basis. And what that really did personally for me was that it made it really difficult to pass that first year. It was this very big mountain that, I just kept trekking up, and it just seemed like it was going to be impossible. And that's a story for another time, but making sure that you're looking at the length of the program, and you want to make sure that you're able to handle the stress that comes along with a program that might be accelerated. Another thing along the same lines would be to look at a program and really realize the cost of it. A private institution is, of course, going to be more expensive than a state institution. Another thing would be where the program is located. If you're, in a city, for example, the Bay Area, it's going to be way more expensive. LA, so NorCal or SoCal, so towards LA, it might also be expensive. However, if you go to a program that is in a different state, or if you go to a program that is, located in a place where the cost of living is not as high, then that is also going to be calculated in the total amount that you're going to spend for PT school. Rent is a big portion of it, so that's something to really consider because physical therapy school in general is going to be quite expensive. Also, because of the times that we're currently in right now, a lot of my classmates who had moved away from their homes to attend the university here, they ended up spending money every month on rent when they actually ended up moving back home because it was COVID and school was shut down. And in that manner, they sort of lost money. But of course, this is not something that will, happen every year. But it still goes to show that, there's so much money that you're putting out there on the table just because of the rent that you're going to be paying, depending on where you decide to go to school. And when you look at the amount of loans that you already have to take out due to the program, another, thing to add on to there, the cost of living can really increase those numbers very, very quickly. So it's a good idea to really think that through prior to applying or accepting a program. One thing you want to check with your program is how are the clinicals dispersed throughout the program? Are they all in a chunk all the way at the end, or are they sprinkled in throughout the year? For example, if you're going to school for a semester, so this is like lecture, one-on-one classes, all of that, and then you're going into clinicals the next semester, and then you repeat that cycle forever until the end of PT school. There are perks to that, there are good things to that, but there are a lot of drawbacks to that as well. For example, a good thing would be I just learned about this material and I immediately get to go apply it because I'm going to clinicals, right? And then a drawback would be that oh no, now I am in the zone for clinicals. I am used to working an 8 to 5 job, and now all of the sudden I have to sit down again and, read these textbooks and, take finals all over again. And that's a very big shift in your mindset that you have to be very willingly able to just adapt to when the time comes to switch back and forth between the two. And then there's also the, perks of having the clinicals all the way at the end. You get to finish your didactic coursework. You have way more knowledge once you're in your third year and you're going into clinicals than you would be in your first year going to clinicals. However, at the same time, it's not the same reinforcement that it would be when you just learned about the material in the class and then now you get to go apply it in the real world setting with patients. And advice that I would try to give you guys is really think about what kind of a student you are. Are you the type of student who really enjoys studying, and you can kind of pick it up anytime, anywhere, and you're good to go? Or are you the type of person who, needs that, continued motivation, which is, I am going to start working now, or I'm going to start studying now, and I'm going to be studying for the next, 2.5 years until I have to go to my clinicals, and that works out better for me. Or are you the type of person who really, would love to be able to just learn a little bit here and then go to clinicals and then learn a little bit there and go to clinicals because, you don't mind the concept of consistently learning and, constantly being deep in the books. It's really just about the type of a learner you are. And a lot of times this is something that you may not even realize until you are going through it, but it's a good thing to consider. And it's a good thing to double check your programs, making sure that you know when those clinicals are placed. Another aspect to consider is that if you, let's say, are in school for a semester and then the next semester you get to go to clinicals, you may go to clinicals and then figure out, whoa, I really don't belong here. I don't think that PT is for me. I think that when I was shadowing, it seemed like a cool profession, but now my mind has changed and this is not for me. That can be a rare situation, but it can happen. And in that sense, when you get the clinical experience so early on, it can be easier to then, talk to your faculty, talk to your advisor, and then potentially drop out of the program, which means that you have less in loans since you didn't go through the entire 2.5 years of curriculum and then go to clinicals. But that already is a really big risk that you really must think about before entering the program. You really do not want to be more than $100,000 in debt and then wonder if this program is the right program for you or if this is the right profession for you. The last advice that I have for you guys is to really decide your clinical location wisely as well. So the reason that you want to be mindful of where you're going for your clinicals is that when you go for your clinicals, that might be a place where you end up just making amazing connections with other people, the people that you're working with. These are the people that might in the future vouch for you and for your, characteristics and your work ethic. And then you might be able to get a job there, right? And also it could be the opposite. You go to a place where you realize, I never want to be in this part of town. So, you choose to never go to that area ever again. So choose your program wisely because you might end up working there. Another thing that goes hand in hand with choosing the location wisely and just goes along with clinicals is really realizing that within the outpatient setting, there are different places where you can work. And within the inpatient setting, there are different places where you can work. For example, let's say you are going to do your inpatient clinical experience. Well, that can mean working in an acute care facility, or it can mean working in a hospital, in which you would see patients who are more long-term. Also, you could go into pediatrics, and that's another thing. Like, are you going to see, pediatric patients in an outpatient setting or in an inpatient setting? So even though there are, this like big categories of outpatient and inpatient, there are still subcategories within that, and you want to invest some time thinking about which place in particular you can see yourself in, because again, the whole point of clinicals is to really figure out where do you fit in, where do you feel like you can provide the best service for your patients, and whether those patients are going to be the geriatric population, which is your older population, or are these people going to be pediatric population, which is your younger children population. And then of course there are, you can work in an outpatient setting that might only see a lot of workers who, got injured at work and now they need physical therapy. So you're going to be a part of their rehab and training them, and very focused on work specific activities that they have to do, and you're going to make sure that your program aligns with that, and that's how you're going to be helping them. Versus you're being in the outpatient setting and you're just seeing the general public, and the general public really might include a lot of older patients. It might even include teenagers, just wherever that might end up for you. You really just want to invest some time into thinking about, okay, where am I right now? Where do I see myself working in the future? And if I do see myself working there, I should probably go ahead and apply there so that I can get more experience in that same setting. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope these tips were helpful, and good luck in your PT journey.